Is it playing?
No, there's no
Never
audio.
gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna give. Never gonna give. I just rickrolled our whole audience.
It was the first Rickroll where there's no actual audio going on.
There wasn't no audio? It was just me singing?
Yeah, it's just Steve singing in the dark.
God.
That went really well, guys. Good job.
Never gonna give, never gonna give.
There was many seconds involved in being able to set that up. Thousands of seconds were used to just set that up.
Not even thousands, hundreds maybe.
Math's hard.
What?
All right, let's get started.
All right.
What? Why would we do that? Silly.
Oh man.
It was just you singing.
All right, guys. So let's go around the room real quick and get everyone introduced. Then we'll actually talk about what we're going to be talking about today. Chris, tell us about yourself.
Hi, my name's Chris Lema, and I work at a company called Crowd Favorite. I blog over at chrislema.com, and I run the San Diego WordPress meetup up here in North County.
Meet up, meet down. Meet up, meet down.
Jen, tell us about yourself. Hey, Jen Miller, tell us about yourself.
I'm Jen Miller, owner of Need Someone to Blog.
Hi.
Awesome. Sarah, how about you?
Hey, I'm Sarah. I do a lot of things. I don't really. What's on my lower third? I am at codebrainmedia.com today, and yeah, somehow I know everybody on the water cooler.
Awesome.
Somehow.
Hey, how about you?
Somehow.
Oh, hello. My name is Say Reed, and I'm never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down.
Hey, I'm
Also,
Jen Miller with Need Someone to Blog.
Don't you want somebody to blog? Look, guys, this is a serious show, okay? I don't know what you're thinking. All right, I like WordPress. WordPress is good. Go WordPress. Say Reed Media. Move on.
How about you, Steve?
I'm Steve Zehngut. I'm the founder of Zeek Interactive, and I run the OC WordPress meetup, and we will be meeting tonight at my office at...
Woo! Hey, what's up? We got a last minute.
Hey, guys.
And I've got a video to show you.
Yeah, hold on. Don't do it. Don't do it. So just so you know, today we're talking about making your content stretch, getting it past getting it past your WordPress website and using that content.
All these women on to talk about yoga.
In a variety of ways. And so I invited my friend. I invited my friend Jennifer, and regardless of whether she's wearing yoga pants or not, she is she's going to be able to help us talk through this topic.
You should feel really special that I did this because I just did the T25 workout and I'm grossly sweaty and disgusting.
Yeah, but you know what?
I think you're awesome and not disgusting at all.
Thank you.
We have no idea over here, right? We can't smell you.
That's good. That's good.
No, I have the Google Smell extension on.
I'm backing up. Okay.
Did you intro yourself?
I did. Now it's Jennifer's turn and then your turn.
All right. Jen, tell us about yourself.
I'm Jennifer Bourne. I am at Bourne Creative, and I'm at Jennifer Bourne on most things but Instagram because I just joined that. That's it.
Nice. I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me Jason Tucker on Twitter, and I blog over at WPmedia.pro and jasontucker.us. So, No, please. Say, by all means.
No, I was just going to say what we were going to talk about, but you were going to say what we were going to talk about, and I was going to make a comment about it, so I actually was preempting.
Chris actually talked a little bit. So, like, the idea is, stretching your content past WordPress. You know, we were trying to come up with a good reason to have a bunch of people that are content creators, content writers, to be on the show, and after speaking with both Jen and Sarah, it seems like this was a good setup. So, Jen was actually the one that came up with the topic. What were you kind of envisioning when you were talking about this?
Well, I think it's really important that people not just publish on WordPress, but that they promote on WordPress. So they're publishing their content, they're pushing it out to their social channels, they're emailing, and we even help people put their content into books to further that content. So it's a one-time effort that goes to multiple channels.
Push it real good.
Oh God.
Keep happening.
Or just taking, or like to pair up with that with Jen, just taking your content that might exist outside of WordPress and putting it into your blog. Finding micro content and then pushing it out across the social media channels to get the traffic back to the blog. I mean, all of your web traffic should be generating traffic back to your website. If it's not, you're just not doing it right. It's kind of a waste of time. But it's all lead generation. It's all content generation. It's all contact generation. It's a huge part of what we do.
Well, one of the things I want to push on is that idea that everything has to happen at your blog. I know that's been kind of the prevalent articulation over the last several years, and yet I don't charge anyone for my blog, right? So people come to my blog and they don't actually pay me to read articles, and so one of the most effective uses of my blog has been to take some of that content, demonstrate some expertise, and drive people somewhere else where I can generate revenue. Right, and so for me, clarity is a fantastic revenue generator because I can answer questions and I get paid by the minute, and I'm answering questions about the same topic that I'm writing about and that I write about not just on my site but on other sites. But by demonstrating the expertise, the monetization happens off-site.
Yeah, but you get them there through that blog link. I mean, you're not blogging on Clarity. You're not driving them straight to Clarity. So it's coming through. It's all about brand management and about your career management. So that's where you leverage your knowledge.
Right. I just want to be clear for people that you don't have to generate the revenue on your own site.
Right.
Cabo Press, for example, is an event. It'll generate some revenue, not tons, because I don't set it up to make a ton. But events also generate revenue, and they're off-site as well, right? So it's about figuring out how do you take the content, the topics, the stuff you've developed expertise in, and how do you move it beyond just the site? And I think that becomes really, really interesting, right? Because all of a sudden it's
Do tell.
I think that I read an interesting, I think it was it might have been Jay Bear, Convincing Convert. I think this morning I read an interesting post of his actually I think it was on Facebook, that there is a shift happening. So to say everything has to go back to your blog and all the content's on your blog and it's driving all this traffic to your blog, that's slowly starting to shift where that is not necessarily the most effective strategy. You need to constantly create blog content because having a blog with no current content looks terrible and doesn't bode well for building confidence. But there's so much saturation, and you may have, like his point was, if you've got 20,000 followers on Twitter, maybe only 1% of those are actually seeing what you're posting. So there's your reach that you think you have with all these followers, but then there's your actual reach of who actually sees what you're saying. So this old kind of style of drive everything to the blog and post links and get everybody back to the blog is shifting to now where content needs to be on every platform absolutely possible, and that you're doing native content to build views and engagement and things like that, to where people are spending time reading that Facebook post that you wrote because maybe it's 500 words and it doesn't link to a blog post. But they're engaged with you so that when you do post blog comment, you do post links to your blog, they show up in their feed more often. So the content has to just be spread out, I think, a little bit more than it used to, because there's so much more clutter and competition.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of that depends on how you get your customers and what type of business you are.
Yeah,
so if customers are finding you through search engines, and they're finding you because you're a small business, or they're trying to go to your retail shop or something like that, then that is a different thing than if you're an influencer or an expert, and them finding you through social media or searching and finding your social media might work for that. But in the case of some small businesses, it's still through search engines, and they're still going to your site for research. So I think instead, there's not a one-size-fits-all answer. So, it depends.
Even if you have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and you're doing all of that networking everywhere else, there still has to be you're still directing everybody back to your main site. And you might, if you say you got to have some native content on Facebook so that your blog post does show up later. So are you natively engaging on Facebook for the sake of just hanging out on Facebook, or are you natively engaging on Facebook for the sake of generating leads to take them back to your main website?
So one of the ways that I've tried to talk to people about this is to think about real life people that help you, like the service professionals. So think about your mechanic, right? The mechanic doesn't say, listen, I'm only going to talk to you about your car if you drive your car to my shop. That's the only place where I talk to you about my shop. It's the only place where I talk to you about your car. You have to come to my physical location of work where I get to talk to you. Like a really great mechanic, we have a mechanic that comes over and hangs out, right? We're eating, whatever, and every now and then I'm like, hey, I got this question about this thing, right? Or the mechanic goes and hangs out at our, at a party, right? And so the mechanic talks about mechanic things there.
Because
right?
everyone hangs out with their mechanic
all
the time. Me and Ron's Auto Lube are buddies.
Long story short, you're still going to take your business back to he's not going to come at your party, whip out his tools, and start rebuilding your engine. You're still going to have to take your problem to his main.
You miss that critical point that I think Chris is making, is that he's not ending every conversation at the party with, and by the way, come to my mechanic shop.
Yep, and that's my issue is this.
Yeah, I don't think that's what I was saying though at all in the original statement.
I agree, but here's what I'm saying is people hear that everything goes back to their website, right? And I think the whole point of having a conversation about extending past your site, right, is to say the expertise that you develop on your site, or the articles, or the education, or whatever, those pieces of education work just as well in other places and in other formats. And so the mechanic may give you an insight, or a tax attorney, or a someone who's an accountant, or a dentist. All these people give advice. They share insights. They tell stories in other places, and it's not always. In fact, it would be a little awkward if it always ended with, "Come back for me to business," right? Like, come. I'd love to work on your teeth, or I'd love to work on your car, or I'd love to do your taxes. It doesn't end there, right? And so what happens is, it can just be a helpful insight, and it gives you that touch point that says, they're really useful, so when I do need to look them up, I'm going to go talk to Mike, the mechanic, because Mike's better than everybody else because I've had really good interactions with him.
Right.
And so how do you take that content and turn it into an ebook that other people will find on Amazon, not your site? How do you take that content and make it answers to questions on Clarity? How do you take that content and turn it into a webinar that is hosted somewhere else at GoDaddy, right, in their garage, right? Or how do you take it to a event, a physical event that you schedule, or that you're a speaker at? How do you take all this content and repurpose it in other places so that you get the benefit of that credibility, relationship, connection, touch point, expertise, all that stuff?
Well, and I think one of the important things also, Chris, is not just the ebook, but a physical book. A physical book is something they can take with them. They can give to clients as a giveaway at a trade show, or in someone's office, or at someone's home. And so that further establishes their credibility. And if they've been building content on things like their website or through their webinars, they can pull that all together and use their presentations, their blogs in that book, and just have it written a little differently so that it reads as a book. And then that's a physical piece that they can hand out.
Yeah, we recently took, someone has like 20 blog posts on how to set up your business as a freelancer. It's free content on his website. He gives it away every day. So we're actually revamping all of that into an ebook to give away as a free downloadable when you sign up for a certain client's newsletter. The client and the person who created the content aren't one and the same at all. They're not even related in business together, but we're all in the WordPress community, and he said, hey, that's a great opportunity to get my name out there. We'll throw that in, and we don't want to write the book. Why reinvent the wheel? He's already written this great book about it. So yeah, we're just going to we're going to revamp it. He's going to edit it. We're going to make sure it's branded appropriately, and then, I mean, that's another way you're getting it out there, but it's going to have his information. It's going to have his main website. It's going to have, they can contact him for future, consulting for freelancers or whatnot. But it all goes back to his main site, which is a blog, which it's just content. So there's lots of ways to do it. You got to think outside the box for sure on it. And
well, I think what you have to think about, and I feel like this is a bit redundant, but really it comes back down again to your business goals. And I think the tendency is, especially for people giving web and marketing advice, to say it's like this. You do it like this. Like the guy that Jennifer was talking about a minute ago, he's like, oh, the paradigm's changing. But it's changing for some people. It's not changing for others. It's a nuanced thing. What's happening is that there's becoming all these different types of opportunities. So the field is really opening up. And so we have to get more specific and more strategic about what works to support the business goals for that particular business. It really, that's the thing that I think it really depends on that. So I don't think you can say there's one size fits all answers to any of this.
That's totally true, Say. I think the one thing we can say is that eventually the old media approaches get oversaturated and ultimately lose impact. So it's totally right to say every decision has to be contextualized to your business. Don't just take someone's strategy and copy it for yourself because it may not translate the same way. But there are still people who are doing late night commercials, right? And that may or may not work for them. But more often than not, it's not working for them. They just think that that's what their consultant told them to do because that's what people have been doing for 20 years, and so they're like, I should do it. And at some point you realize that one-to-many broadcast, non-interaction model is not all that helpful, right? And eventually you go, maybe I should change it up. And that's
where a lot of businesses are getting, that exact same point, that's where a lot of business owners are getting really frustrated. They're saying, everybody's telling me to blog and everybody's telling me to drive all this traffic to my website, and I'm spending a lot of time blogging and I'm not getting a lot of traffic, or I'm not getting a lot of traction. This isn't converting for my business, because they're just listening to a generalization and kind of applying it. But if all you're doing is focusing on that one medium, you're not going to see the results. There's just too much crap.
Yep, it has to be
too much noise. So you look at, and not everybody likes to blog. Not everybody likes to write. Not everybody likes to do any of those things. Most people hate Facebook. But it's a huge traffic generator for a lot of sites. So part of it is looking at what's working best for your business. Part of it's looking at what do you actually like doing so you will continue doing it consistently. And then how can you, when you take all of that effort, then continue to repurpose it over and over multiple times in different ways so you're not having to expend as much energy. Because one piece of really well done content can be used over and over and over. One 60-minute audio recording can be turned into an ebook, can be turned into 4 or 5 different blog posts, can be turned into 50 or 60, good social media, posts or options, can be turned into a CD that people can opt in for. It's all of these different ways of looking at it.
I should mention that if you want a CD or if you even want a floppy with Flash or Director, don't.
People still
wait for it. Wait for it. If you want a CD with an animated thing on it, or you want a floppy with a little Flash game or some animation, the go-to guy in the industry,
Alex Vasquez,
is no, Steve. Don't be humble. The go-to guy when we're talking about CD.
I got this really weird itch on my forehead.
CD content or floppy disk content. A guy who knows how to maximize the full application in a tiny space.
I just read a TechCrunch article this morning that said Flash is finally dead.
Yes, but if you want to be part of bringing it back, Steve Zehngut is your guy. I just want to let you know we can't go a show without talking about Steve's expertise.
Guess what's behind this?
I have no clue.
The naughty finger.
The other person.
I pissed off Say.
Yeah. She's like, I love Flash. Darn it.
Back. Hey, we have Jen Miller on the show, and I think this is our first time, and I don't know what needs someone to blog.com is, and so Jen, why don't you tell us a little about it?
Okay, so needs someone to blog. We blog for businesses. We take different businesses and help them to learn to posts on their blogs. We also take those blog posts and we turn them into books, like I was talking about, and we help with other social media efforts and email efforts to just get their marketing message out. In fact, awesome. Chris, I was going to show you this. This is a book that I did from my blog post on my website. So I just published it on Amazon, but it's something that we do for our clients, but it's also something that any of us could do if we have an active blog.
Sweet. So, Steve.
Steve, I was waiting for this.
This show's not about me at all.
I know.
It's really not. It's really
but Steve could have a 2-pager. This is what we're saying.
I know.
You could get a 2-page book. It'd be more like a flyer, right? But it could be awesome. It could be awesome.
Okay, so in Steve's case, he might need a ghostwriter to step in and help that book to be fleshed out a little.
Steve needs a lot of ghostwriters.
Look, Steve every week puts in his time and effort into this. You could just get this all transcribed and then put it into a book.
That sounds like a phenomenal idea.
That does sound like a good idea. Let's all publish it.
Steve,
Wisdom, water cooler wisdom. Coming to you soon on
for the book,
Amazon.
Hey, okay, I'll say something for the book. It's important
Maybe
for
one of those
blogging.
at, like Paper Source or Papyrus on the table with like the book with the little noise parts. It'd go on that table.
Here's a quote for the book. It's important if you're a blogger. It's important that you blog consistently. Like,
exactly.
And Steve's consistency is once a year. Once a year with a bonus one if you sign up for the club.
He's an annual blogger. It's okay, you know. He is what he says he is.
That's how you keep track of all of you.
Anyway, I have a more WordPressy question. So we all agree you got to get your stuff out. Blah 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 blah. All those early 23 minutes of the show.
Never gonna give you up.
Yeah, never gonna let you down. Never gonna. Just kidding. I have a real question. What are your guys' favorite plugins to extend your content past your websites?
Past, I would say my most favorite.
Past, like extend it further.
I would say the two that we use the most. The first is WPwatercooler, and that's a paid premium plugin, so it's like $60. But what it allows me to do, you can type custom headlines, custom content, and pick your images for Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, so it won't pull just whatever it pulls. You can actually type it all in. And then for Twitter, you can schedule multiple tweets to go out and change your content right in your WordPress dashboard. So you're not having to go to Hootsuite or you're not having to go somewhere else. So that's for new posts. And you can go back and you do it for old posts too, but the other is revive old post. The UI is not great, but you can do it by category, or you can do it on a post-by-post basis. You can exclude categories, but you can set it up to randomly tweet out your old but still good blog posts at whatever interval you want. So you could set it up to do it once every 7 hours. And it'll just randomly pull one from your archives. And
you gotta do this, Steve.
Isn't that the one you use, Jason?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's so funny. Like, I've read your blog, and I'll see you post something, like, on Twitter or whatever, and I'm like, ooh, you wrote a new blog. I click, God damn it, every time. It's like, you're I've read this already. Revive Old Post is the Rickroll plugin of WordPress, is what it is.
And that plugin's been forked a few times too. There's a couple other versions of it that people have kind of made
that's
out
really
of that.
forked up.
You can add like a little prefix onto your tweets that it'll say old but good, or some people will put oldie but goodie, and it'll put that in front so people know it's not something new. But when we added Revive Old Posts, our traffic, I know, but our traffic from Twitter almost tripled when we added Revive Old Post. And then when we started using WPwatercooler, our traffic to new blog posts almost quadrupled.
Wow.
Holy smoke sauce beans, that's a lot of data.
So it works if you actually use it.
Yeah. And
like most things, I might say. If you just sitting in the corner, look at it.
I use CoSchedule, which is a similar solution.
Ooh, that's really good.
CoSchedule is a plugin, but it connects to a SaaS. And so the benefit of not having it as a plugin on your own site is if your site goes down, all those tweets stop because they're coming from your site. With CoSchedule, it's in the cloud, so that content is managed externally, but it also gets sent out externally, and you can connect it up to several different sources to push out in different places. And so
now they're a monthly fee. So what's their fee?
There's a monthly fee. I don't know what it is.
It's like really low. I think it's like $10 a month or something like that.
It's super cheap. I use an app called Sendable, and I use an app called Meet Edgar. So those are the two that I use.
I'm sorry, we were talking.
Meet Edgar in my Facebook feed as a sponsor.
But I don't use any plugins.
Yeah, we were talking.
Does lots of sponsored.
Yeah, we were talking about things to help your content go out, not your personal life.
I run a multi-site, and the one that we use for our multi-site is called it's by a company called NextScripts, and it's a social network auto poster. And that one actually does the type of thing that that yours was talking about, Jen, where you can set what the image is going to be like, what's the text going to be like, all that stuff per thing. But one of the things that it does do that I haven't seen very many others do is being able to post over to Google Plus and do it instantly. So yeah, there's
do people still use that?
Google Plus is dead.
No.
It doesn't matter if anybody's using it or not.
It's only about Google indexing. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Don't kill it yet, because Steve's about to start blogging on Google Plus.
Yeah, Google Plus is really beneficial for a couple clients. It just depends on where if you've leveraged those communities or not on Google Plus. But Sendable does everything: Pinterest, Twitter. Why are you laughing?
He's laughing at me.
Okay.
I'm laughing at Steve.
So
I don't know what they're doing.
Y'all are ridiculous.
Steve, we'll find the friendly one for you, bro.
Guys, we got 2 minutes left, so I know that we will, in the show notes for this show, we'll put some other tools that may help you, plugins and or products that may help you.
By we, you mean Jason, so that's good.
But
okay.
yeah, by we. We have 2 minutes left, and I'm going to segue as best I can here. First to note, guest blogging is another way that you can do this, and one of the people I love when she guest blogs is Jennifer Bourne, and she guest blogs in places like the GoDaddy Garage. And the GoDaddy Garage is one of those blogs that's for bloggers, but it's also for entrepreneurs, it's for small businesses, and it's a great place to write some content, to read some content that's fantastic. I'm telling you about that because it's a great place. It's a great place to check out. But speaking of GoDaddy, next week we are doing a special, and that special is all on GoDaddy.
What?
We're talking the whole show. The whole show is on GoDaddy. So take your 3-year-old and 4-year-old perceptions of GoDaddy and put them on the shelf, because we're going to talk about the new GoDaddy.
We're going to talk about how much they suck now, right now.
We're going to talk
how
about
much they used to suck.
We're going to talk about what
they're trying so hard to shake that. They're doing a good job.
Yeah, we're going to talk.
They are by redesigning
Hey, don't talk about the show before the show.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the show next week. We're still debating whether or not Say is allowed to come.
Say's always allowed.
We want you to be able to hear everything they have to say. We're going to get some great folks on. It's going to be a fantastic show. Tell your friends.
No one's getting any money. This is not a sponsored show.
This is not a sponsored
that
show.
is why we will be there with hard questions.
And fun ones. So if you want to find out how many different people, we'll see if we can ask them this. How many different people quit GoDaddy, and for the reason they give is that the CEO is hunting elephants, even though that was the previous CEO and it happened 5 years ago. I'm going to tell you, I think it's still a majority of the people quitting. So we want to spend some time to ask some questions.
That's what social media is good for. Late activism.
People have a really long memory. Especially
late activism.
Especially an elephant or a lion. So next week, a whole show on GoDaddy.
Wait, GoDaddy CEO is a dentist?
Oh my gosh.
No. Already starting the rumors.
Hey, oh my god.
Oh boy.
Yeah. We're not sure. Like I said, we're not sure about that.
That is about it for today. Make sure you go over to our website at WPwatercooler.com, click on all the links there. If you're looking for show notes for this particular episode, they will be on the website there. You can check them out there. We stream this live onto YouTube, so you can watch it on YouTube and check out all the stuff there. And if you don't want to look at us, but you just want to listen to us, you can also subscribe to us. Thank you all for being on the show.
I say listen to this. Never gonna give you up.